Hey, it is great to be here. I've been back in York. I just got off the bicycle. I've been back in York County for about 5 hours now, so I'm running on about 2.5 hours of sleep. But I don't usually drink coffee, but I just had a little coffee today, so I hope it'll push me through. I'm really excited to be here. Before I start, I want you guys to think about something. If you could have anything in the world, anything, any one thing, I want you to think about what it would be. I remember when I was younger, and even now, I kind of want a Ferrari. If I could have anything, I'd have a Ferrari. You know, and also a YZ80. Do we have any motorcycle riders in here? I love dirt bikes. That's like my thing. So that's always what I wanted. I want you to have, like, try to think of something in your own mind and keep that, and I'll get back to that later. So as Frank just said, I just got off the bicycle. Just finished about 12,100 miles. I covered 37 states. It's been an incredible year, completely incredible year. I've raised just under 50K for charity, and I'll get to that in a second. But before I tell you about the bicycle ride, I want to tell you how it was inspired. First off, do you have the slideshow up here? Cool. I'll show you a picture here to go with it. I came from what I thought was a very normal, happy, healthy family. I had two brothers, as you'll see here. And my dad, I'm from southern Pennsylvania. I'm from southern York County. It's kind of funny being this close to home. I'm used to being all over the place, and when I say York County, nobody knows what I'm talking about. So this is kind of cool. So southern York County, and there's my dad, and I'm in the orange, and those are my two brothers. So I'm one of three boys, and I played sports. The next slide there, that's a picture of my mom and my uncle. This is my Justin Bieber dude. That's pretty cool, right? Pretty cool Justin Bieber dude. That wasn't all that long ago, believe it or not. I had a couple dogs. Anybody know what kind of dogs those are? Huskies. That's right, they're huskies. Yeah, beautiful dogs. And I went to the park. I played sports. Yeah, hold on 1 second with that one. That's great. I went to a beautiful park like this. This is what it looks like in the fall time, as you guys know. And I just thought that I lived a very normal life. I thought at a young age, and certainly in high school, that I thought everyone lived this way. Like, this is normal. This is what everybody does. Because all my friends were this way. Everyone I ever knew did this. And it wasn't until I started traveling that I realized actually how lucky I was. And I've spent a lot of time in other countries, just under 5 years total, all over the place, mainly Southeast Asia and in the Middle East. And it wasn't until I started traveling that I realized exactly how lucky I was. So there was one day that completely changed my life. And I'm sure it changed many lives in here too. It was September 11, 2001. Now, we all have our story, because you're all old enough. Although it's really funny to talk to middle schools. I'll ask, how old were you then? And they're like, we weren't even born yet. You know, so I feel super old then. But yeah, so September 11th completely changed my life. I was in the 10th grade, to age myself now, so you can tell how old I am doing the math. I'm 31, I'll save the math. But I'm 31 years old, and I was in 10th grade, and a teacher popped his head in the door, and he said, the World Trade Towers have just been hit. And I remember thinking, hit with what? Like, what do they get hit by? Baseball, frisbee, I mean, what in the world does that mean? And my teacher turned on the TV, and the next slide will show you what I saw. So this is what I saw, and it was this day, I'll never forget it. I was always very physically fit. I always played sports, and I loved being active, and I was very strong. Although I'm not a big guy, I'm strong for my size and weight. And I knew this day that I was going to have my say in what happened on this day. So as you guys know, 4 planes went down, and it was an extremely tragic day. So if you can see the next slide here, I decided to join the Army. Do we have any veterans in here?
Hell yeah.
All right, there we go. Okay, good news, good news. Well, when I joined in 2004, the beginning of 2004, there were 212 different jobs you could choose from. So most people think that you join the Army, you go to basic training, you get trained up, and then you go to war. And it's not like that. There are 212 different things that I could choose from. And I chose the one that made my mom a little upset, as you'll see in the next slide. Anybody know? Yeah. So, after I told people I'm going to ride my bicycle around the country, they're like, that's insane, that's crazy. And I'm speaking like veterans at VFWs all over the country. And I said, well, I was in the 82nd Airborne. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's normal. Of course. So, anybody know what kind of plane that is?
C-130?
Yeah, C-130, that's right, C-130. I've jumped out of C-130s and C-17s. And C-17s are like a Cadillac, much bigger and more comfortable. But anyway, my mom was a nervous wreck. And the one thing that my mom and my father were both really concerned about was that I would be sent to Iraq. And of course, that's what happened. You see in the next slide here, I am hanging out, that's me, with a little boy. And what's interesting, this is when it really started hitting me. Now I saw kids all over the place, and I didn't get the chance to take too many pictures because we were doing other things, obviously, but this is a relatively safe area. And we're hanging out, And you can't see right off the slide, off to the right, there's this little shack that this little boy lives in. And it was during this time that I started to get an idea of how lucky I was. I think I was 19 or 20 in this picture. And I remember thinking, when I wake up in the morning, I go outside and you see my dogs and my brothers and the beautiful park I played in. And this is all this little boy's ever known. This is where Saddam's headquarters were when we first came in. And all this is leveled because of the American planes dropped the bombs and leveled this area because this is where Saddam's headquarters were. And this little boy was an infant at the time. He was just a little baby. And he is completely deaf. He and his 3 siblings, he's one of 4. They're all completely deaf because they were so young at the time that it damaged their hearing. Their parents couldn't protect their ears, and he's completely deaf. I wish I had a picture of the house, but I don't. But it's extremely sad. So this is the day. This is the beginning of when I started realizing like that could have been me. You know, the only difference between me and that little boy is the location in which we were born. It's so crazy. I kept thinking this could have been me. So after the Army, after my time in the Army, I went to into college. Hit the next slide there. I went to York College, Pennsylvania. This is funny. This is probably the first audience I've spoken to where everybody knows what it is. And I had the government pay for my school using the GI Bill, so that was really helpful. And then I decided after I graduated I could do anything and go anywhere. And I always loved Asian culture and religion. I thought it was fascinating. My logo is actually a Buddha on a bicycle. And usually I'm wearing a shirt with my shirt, the Buddha on the bicycle around America shirt. But like I said, I just got home about 5 hours ago, and I have no laundry, but Pencil Promise gave me this shirt, so I can wear this today. It's something we wear. But you go to the next slide here. I flew into Phuket, Thailand here. Has anybody ever been to Thailand? Cool. Has anybody, what about Asia? Anywhere else in Asia? Anybody been to Asia? Definitely an interesting place, really cool. I flew to Phuket to take the English teaching school. I'm actually not a teacher. My degree at York College was in marketing. So I did marketing and business. That's really my fascination. I just wanted to do more than travel. I wanted to do more than scratch the surface. I wanted to really learn about people. So I flew into Phuket, and then I found that after I took the 1-month teaching course to learn how to be a teacher, which was a lot of fun, that was really cool, I found that the more I traveled north, the more peaceful the people were. So I traveled way up north, I saw more temples. That's what I was there for, to see the temples and the monks and things like that. You go to the next slide, you can see this is me teaching. Can you guys read what's on the board there? Yeah, so you guys are experts. They speak Thai over there in Thailand, and they would always ask me, what's the difference between the S and the SH? And I said, oh, I'll teach you that. And I wrote them this tongue twister. And then I would laugh at them when they would mess it up. And they would give me a tongue twister, and it was insane. We cannot produce the sounds that they make with their tongue twisters. It was incredible. So you go to the next slide here. Let's see. This is me shaking the hand of a little boy. This doesn't look like anything particular to us, but this is how we greet everyone. This is how we say hello, obviously. Does anyone know what they do with their hands in Thailand? That's right, they do the Y. They put their hands together, they call it the Y. And this is really funny too, because Ronald McDonald in Thailand, here he's waving, or he's sitting on a bench. There he stands like this. And I always get with selfies with Ronald, like, check it out. Like Ronald McDonald's just standing like this. It's so interesting. So this little guy's having a good time because he's like, I'm shaking the white guy's hand. Like, isn't this exciting? Look, I can do it. And they'll do that too. They'll come up to you and say, shake hand, because they want to show you that they know how to say hello. If you go to the next slide here, that's my CRF, what was that, 250 over there. This was a blast. I loved having this bike because it allowed me to explore, and I'm so glad I did. I would see hills like this and say, man, I wonder what's on the other side, and I really could explore. And that's when I really started running into extremely interesting things. You go to the next slide. This is me with a old lady here. Now, you have to be very careful in these hill tribe areas, because if you just go around taking pictures, some hill tribe and very, indigenous people believe that if you take their picture, it steals their soul. So you have to be very, very careful. You can't just go around taking pictures when you're way out in the middle of nowhere. But I had a friend with me who could translate. Does anybody want to guess how old this woman is? 95? I was like $120, right? She's got to be like 120 years old. She's actually under 70. She's in her late 60s. Wow, late 60s, yeah. But that is a life of hard work in the fields. I mean, it's really amazing. You go to the next slide there. This is the long neck tribe. Has anybody ever seen these people in the National Geographic things? This is fascinating to me. They actually put these rings on their neck because the longer your neck is, it's a sign of wisdom and beauty. And I remember thinking, this is so interesting, because I've never looked at a girl and said, oh, she has such a nice long neck. I've never thought that way. You know, it's just not my thing. And does anyone want to guess, do you think that these people get taller, stay the same height, or get shorter? Anybody want to guess?
I would say shorter.
Shorter?
But with that neck, I don't know.
I know that. No, they actually stay about the same height. It's an illusion, it's an optical illusion of pushing their collarbones downward. It's not their neck, their head isn't going down, their shoulders coming downward. You can see how narrow this woman's shoulders are. It's like she's stuffing her collarbone and shoulders inside these rings. So it's really, really interesting and fascinating. Also, their neck is completely atrophied. They can't like hold their own neck up because the muscles, they don't use the muscles at all. It's like propped up. So they never use those muscles. They're atrophied and they literally can't take it off at that age. So you can go to the next slide. I was just fascinated with the different cultures. I then, in my summer break in Thailand, I went to Vietnam. You go to the next slide. I flew in from, so I was in northern Thailand up by the Myanmar border there. It was a 1-hour drive from the border. I came down to Ho Chi Minh and then traveled the country for about a month. Went all the way up to Hanoi and Sapa, way up in the north, and just spent a little over a month there. And again, you go to the next slide. I saw the same thing. I saw like extreme poverty. And this is too, when I just kept imagining myself. I don't know why I think this way, but I always try to put myself in other people's shoes. I think I have like a natural compassion, but it always made me think, this could have been me. This could have been me. I could have been born in this country. And they don't have a safety net like we do, like welfare, any kind of programs. They're just out on the street. That's why they're much more family-oriented. In Asia, they keep track of their family much more closely because that's really their only safety net. So it just, it really struck me. You can go to the next slide here. Can you see what these little guys are playing with there? They're rocks, right? They're improvising. Does anybody, you guys know what jacks are, right? The game jacks where the bouncy ball and stuff. That's what they're doing. They're doing the same thing with jacks. And I remember seeing these kids thinking of kids in America playing their like Nintendo or whatever, Sony or however. I don't play these things, but what are they called? Xbox or whatever. And being grouchy and everything. And these guys are just like playing with their rocks and having a good old time. So it's amazing how they improvise. You can go to the next slide. This is a playground here. Now it's funny, every time I go to speak at schools, excuse me, I roll in, and it looks very similar. I mean, in America, it looks very similar to my schools when I grew up in Southern York County. Like I said, we've got soccer fields, football fields, basketball courts, all kinds of interesting things. And here, this is really all they have. They don't have anything. They just have an open space where they can run around. So just a totally unique and different way of growing up. So after Vietnam, I went to back to Thailand to finish my year teaching. Then I was in Taiwan for a short amount of time, and then ended up going to Indonesia. And the whole time my parents were like, okay, where are you? They're looking at a world map, like, hold on, okay, well, you're over here, okay, you're over there. So I don't like to sit still for too long. You go to the next slide. I was in Indonesia. Now, Indonesia is an archipelago. So to give you a sense of scale, if you were to lay America over top, it would be about the same size with the west coast and the east coast. So it's about that big. Does anyone want to guess how many islands make up Indonesia? Anybody want to guess how many islands? 7,000. More than 7,000. Great guess. That's an excellent guess, though. Most people say like 300 or something like that. So it's more than 7,000. Any other guesses? It's about 17,500 islands. Tons and tons of islands. I mean, that's counting every single one. I stayed in Jakarta, Indonesia, on the island of Java. But I've been all over to many of these. Bali, of course, that's the Gili Islands. I've been up to Manado, and lots of fun. You can go to the next slide. I am doing here a Habitat for Humanity exercise here. Has anyone ever done like Habitat? You guys know what that is? I love it. You're building homes for the less fortunate people, and this was so much fun. This is where I started devoting a lot of my time to service. And I found that the more that I gave to others, the better I felt. And I was so fascinated with this to try to understand, why does this happen? What's happening here? And I read about it and found out that the scientists have actually found, neurologists have actually found that the more the giver receives, more endorphins are released in the brain of the giver than the receiver. So it's really like we're wired to give. If you give to others, you actually feel much better about yourself. And I recognized this and felt this firsthand. And that's why I started really devoting a lot of my time, pretty much all of my free time, to helping out. And it was so much fun. This little guy crossing his arms, it's his house that we're building. These little girls live around the corner, and they're a little bit more shy, as you can tell. But this little guy always stood like that. I'm like, he's the boss. And we're building, all these people working hard and building his house. It was a lot of fun. You can go to the next slide. Here is a little impromptu English class that I gave. This is in a village just about 2 hours south of Jakarta, Indonesia. And this was interesting, when I went into this village, it's very, very tiny little huts, little houses, and there's one little, it looks like a sidewalk that goes in between all the houses that kind of connects them all. And when I was walking down, before I got there, this guy told me, he said, "You are the first white person to ever step foot in this village." And I thought that was fascinating. I'm like, that's really amazing. And I'm walking, and sure enough, that had to be true, because these little kids would pop their heads out the door and say, "Was that a white guy?" And oh my goodness, they come out and run. I mean, it was so much fun. I love kids. That's like really where my passion is. And they would run around. We had so much fun. We're doing a little English class here, but it was a blast. You know, the next slide there. And here is back in the city of Jakarta. The problem is that the level of, there's no distribution of wealth over there. You're either extremely wealthy or you're very poor. And it's so sad. It'll break your heart. Like, you would see mansions and beautiful malls. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Jakarta, but and then you see slums. You'd be standing in the mall in this wealthy, beautiful place, building, and you look out and there are just slums everywhere. And the problem is when there's a fire or floods in these areas, it just takes everything out. The people hardly have anything in the first place, but when these fires come through, it just levels everything. It's extremely heart-wrenching. Go to the next one there. Here you can see that these are up on stilts because the rainy season, floods come every single year. So they have their little homes, which are shacks, up on stilts. Now, you guys can all see what this is down here, right? You guys can all see this? Right, it's trash and garbage. And the picture looks bad, right? The picture looks bad, but can you imagine what it smelled like when I was taking the picture? You know, and this is where people live. This is actually where people live. And again, remember how I'm always thinking, like, this could have been me. This could have been me. I could have been born right here. And there are millions of people in Jakarta. 70% are under the poverty level. So it's extremely heart-wrenching. This place just broke my heart for sure. This woman here, this is very interesting. She is, this is mother-daughter, and this is a student, one of the students at the university I taught in, and she is completely blind. Can you see what that blue thing is up there? Right, it's a tarp. They're using it as a roof. Can you see what the poles are in the back? Do you know what that is? Bamboo, right. There's a lot of bamboo in Asia, and they use it all the time. So these people just pretty much grabbed some scraps and threw their little house together, and this is where they live, because the last flood took their home away. Now this woman, this old woman, is completely blind, and in order to get into her house, you have to walk on a 2x4 that goes up. You saw in the last picture, it was like all up on stilts. You have to walk on this 2x4 and then duck underneath the blue tarp to get into this little tiny house. And it's so small you can't possibly stand it. I can. I'm short and I can't stand up in this house. So here I am, very physically fit. I've got great balance and my vision. And I'm having trouble like balancing on this 2x4 and ducking under the blue tarp to get into this home. She's blind and old and does it every single day. So to give you guys more of a context now, the things that I've seen here in Iraq, I wish I had more pictures of my time in the Army, but and also in my time in Southeast Asia is what inspired me to do what I just finished, which is weird to say I just finished. I usually am in the process of it because I've been at it for a long time. You can go to the next slide here, or the next two actually. That is my logo there, and usually I have a shirt that says that, and I'm selling shirts on my website too, which is really exciting because everybody wants to get a hold of those. I got a bunch, like 6 of them there. You can go to the next slide. So I'll tell you a little bit about my charity. This is just one of them. I'm writing for 2. The first one's called Pencils of Promise. Has anyone ever heard of these guys? So they're pretty popular because Justin Bieber, my favorite guy. No, I'm just kidding. But when I was in Asia, I used to tell everyone, I'm Justin Bieber's cousin. They're like, really? I'm like, oh yeah, he comes over and sings for Christmas all the time. This is no big deal. They're like, oh my God, you gotta get a picture. They're so excited, you know? So Justin Bieber does a lot of work with Pencils of Promise. I think he gives like some kind of percentage of something every year to Pencils of Promise, which is way more than I can raise, unfortunately. But I'm working on it. I'm catching it. So I'm raising money for Pencils of Promise. Now these guys are great because they build schools and train teachers in the developing countries, such as Asia, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa. And they're doing wonderful things. What fascinated me most about these guys, Adam Braun is the founder of Pencils of Promise. The reason why Justin Bieber does a lot of work for them is because Adam Braun's brother is Justin Bieber's agent. So that's how they got connected like that. But Adam Braun and I are so similar. We had he had a near-death experience. He was on a boat, and the engines went out. It was a big storm, and his boat almost went down. And he said that if I live through this, I'm going to do something with my life. I'm going to make it better for myself and for others. And I'll never forget being in Iraq. I spent about a little less than 2 years in Iraq. And the first 4 months I was there was not too big of a deal. We were setting up a prison, which is really weird for infantrymen to do. But the second deployment was 15 months. You guys remember the surge with John McCain and General Petraeus? I was the very first unit of the surge. They gave us, because we're on a recall status, being airborne, we have to be ready to go at any time. And they called us, and 3 days later, we were on the plane. And it was between Christmas and New Year of '06. So I was gone for all of '07. And anyway, I had my fair share of close calls, for sure. I mean, some really scary times. And I remember going back and talking, we all did this, we would go back and we would tell each other, my friends, that, when we get back home, this is what we're going to do. You're going to come hang out with my friends, and you're going to meet my kids, and I'm going to make the best of my life. Because you never forget those situations, because it's so intense and scary. And it's funny, it's not scary. A lot of people ask me, were you scared in combat? Never. You turn into like a robot. I knew exactly what I had to do. I was completely trained. I know exactly what needs to happen. No matter what situation came up, that's why we do hours and hours of training before we go over. So in the moment, it's just, you're focused and you know exactly what you're doing. It's afterwards, when things settle down and some of my friends were hit, they were okay. I came back with everybody in my platoon of about 25. But I was standing right here and a bullet went, and at the moment, no problem, you keep moving. But at night, when the world settles down around you and you're laying there in a cot, you say, well, what if I was standing here and not here? And it was just a scary situation that I'll never forget. So I always had this feeling like I'm going to do something with my life. And Adam was the same way with his boat. Same thing when he traveled, he did a lot of traveling like I did. And his favorite thing to do was to ask kids in these developing countries, if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? And he's expecting their answers to be similar to ours. Like, I want a Ferrari, I want a mansion, I want a boat, something like that. Really exciting, big stuff. It wasn't that way at all. I want a book. I want a pencil. I want to sing. Very, very simple things. They're much more simple people. So he thought to himself, wow, I could do that. We can make a school. We can make this happen. So one school turned into three, we're at 320, well, he just told me. 328, almost 330 right now, 330 schools. And they're all completely functioning and still working in outstanding organization. I love these guys. I just saw them in New York City Friday when I came in. And they are just a great group of people doing wonderful things. So you go to the next slide here. The next one's the National Military Family Association. I met these guys too in Alexandria, so not long ago. Maybe, I guess a couple of weeks ago now, a month ago or so. No, less than that, a couple of weeks ago. And they're doing great things too. These guys focus on the military family unit. So I was with my friends, and a lot of them had wives and kids and things like that. And it's very hard. When a soldier serves, as any in here know, when a soldier serves, the family serves. I mean, it's really taxing on the entire family. And I always put a lot of I gave credit to my success for my family unit. I have great parents and brothers, and I just have I come from a very strong Italian family. And as you may tell, we talk with our hands and we get excited. So I come from a really strong Italian family, and that's what I believe made me who I am today. That's why I focus really hard on the family unit, and especially military families. So they're doing great things. They're an awesome organization. It was fun meeting them. I thought I've been speaking to about 3 of them. They said, oh, we'll have a meeting when you get here. I'm like, oh, this is great. So I think I'm going to hang out with like 3 or 4 people. They brought the whole office in. Everyone was there. We were telling stories. It was just a fantastic time. They do wonderful things. Go to the next one here. So there's the hot rod. I wish I had it here for you. This is so funny. I actually drove a car here. That's the first time that has ever happened. And it's funny driving now too, because I can go like light speed. I'm like, whoa! It's like ludicrous speed. You know, this is just amazing. Usually I can be very careful, and it's also funny riding through York County because I have so many friends here, and this is where I grew up. So I keep thinking, oh, I can go here, I can visit this person. When I'm riding a bicycle, I can be very careful. Okay, that'll take me about an hour to get there, and I have to know exactly where I'm going and just be very careful. But now that I got my car, I feel like I can be anywhere, anytime. You know, it's really exciting. So it's been a year to give you guys an idea. So why I'm so excited. So you can see these huge bags on the front. And I got a tent on the back and everything I need. One thing that makes this ride completely unique is that it's completely solo. Anyone who does even a quarter of the miles that I've done, they have a sag wagon. So it's a car or some kind of vehicle that comes and helps you out. I am completely solo, and that's why everybody thinks I'm crazy. So I did this all by myself, and just with the generosity of American people all over the place, I was put up less than 20% of the time, about 17% of the time. I have an Excel sheet where I keep track of all my numbers, and I'm going to put that on my website soon with all these beautiful charts and graphs so you can see exactly what the ride was and some of the statistics. But I've got lots of food in the back and clothing, my computer in the front, water bottles. I have a lock here. There's a little pump right there you can see. I have everything I need, a sleeping bag and sleeping pad on the back, everything I need to be fully functional. I can sleep anywhere, and I have slept everywhere. I mean, everywhere you can imagine. So if you go to the next slide here, this is really exciting, okay? When I first started, to give you an idea, May 4th. Oh, what's today? What's today? Okay, almost missing here. Okay, May 4th. 2015, I started in New York City, and I went up to Boston in my first talk. I went all the way up to Portland, Maine. That's my first corner. But when I stopped in Boston, it was really funny because I spoke to about 1,000 kids there in a middle school. And my secret to success is taking one day at a time. So I don't think about this when I first started, certainly. I just say, well, today I have to go from New York City to Connecticut, something like that. Just one step at a time, that's how I do it. But when I give my talks, I have to address this image, you know? And when I stopped in Boston to speak at 1,000 kids, that blue line was about this big. And I remember thinking, and then I'm going to go there, and then I'm going to go there. And it was like making me sick. I'm like, oh, I don't like to think of it like that. You know, it's going to be a long time, a lot of miles, and a ton of challenges. But I knew I could do it. So I went up to Portland, Maine, crossed the country. As you can see, I took a big dip here in Iowa, and that was crazy. I slept out in my tent through a tornado. I mean, it was insane. That's a story for another time. And then I came across and went up to Washington. I dipped down really far here because I was going to a bicycle event. Someone told me in Chicago there's a big bicycle event called Rag Brag. I don't know if anybody has heard of that. It's like the most popular bicycle event in the country. 20,000 plus cyclists ride across Iowa. But they were going east and I was going west, so clearly they were going the wrong direction. I had to leave them. I called them at the starting line and wished them farewell. I met a lot of cool friends. Then went up to Seattle, Washington. From Seattle, I came down the coast, as you can see, all the way to San Diego. That's my third corner. And then crossed the country, did a little detour here in Dallas. I was in Tyler, Texas, and went backwards to Dallas because I had some friends there who said that they wanted to meet me and speak at their schools and things like that. So I did a quick detour. Then came all the way down. I don't cut any corners, okay? I didn't just touch Florida. I went down the panhandle, or the whole area of Florida, and I believe, I'm not sure about this, but I think I spent more time in Florida than I did in California. I assumed that California was going to be my longest state, but by the time you get all the way down to Miami, which is my fourth corner, and then come all the way back up, I think I spent more time there than in California, but I'm going to check the data sheet as soon as I have a second to sit down and do that. And then from there, I rode up the East Coast. I jumped inland a little bit here because NC State invited me to speak at their university, and then I came all the way back up to New York City. This last section was really fun because I got to see a lot of my friends in Baltimore and give a big talk there at a high school that let me use their auditorium. So it's been a blast. But I've got some questions for you guys. If you had to do something like this, if you had to take my bicycle, engineless, okay, bicycle, not a motorcycle, and do what I did, what would you be concerned about? What would be some challenges you think you would face or you think that I faced?
Flat tires.
Flat tires. I've had 12 flat tires in the rear, 1 in the front. Don't know why. It's like a magical front tire. I always carry tubes with me. I always carry inner tubes and a little tool that allows me to change the tires. So I always keep about 3 with me at all times. So it wasn't too bad. 12, 13, so 13 total, just under a flat tire at 8,000 miles. So that wasn't too bad. What's another challenge? What do you
Bears.
Bears. That's a good point. You know, I was rolling into Yellowstone National Park right here, and the ranger at the gate says, you know, you have to be really careful. There are bears here. And I said, I know karate, you know. And he's like, oh man, okay, this guy's tough. So, you know, I'm only kidding. It was a concern. I mean, it was a legitimate concern. And my friend, I was with a guy at this point that I had met, you know, coming across just a day or two earlier. And we searched. I'm not kidding. I've never seen a bear in the wild. And we searched all day. I only had 1 day there because I had to get to Seattle before the school year started. We searched all day for a bear. Did not see one. And I'm not joking. I rolled out of Yellowstone that day. That day, a guy that worked there, he seriously had like a Dr. Dolittle complex. He thought that he could like talk to animals. No kidding, I'm not kidding. He wanted to go and hold the cub, and the mother took him out. And the whole thing is like tragic. Everyone was like extremely upset at him because he's always had this problem. He shouldn't have been working at Yellowstone National Park. They had to kill the mother, and it's a tragedy. It was horrible. But I was just upset because I just wanted to see a bear, and he got to give one a hug, you know? And that's horrible. So that's just depressing. What else? What's that?
Elements.
Elements. Oh, that's great. You know, we have an expression in bicycle touring. We say there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear. Okay, so if you have the right stuff, you have the right tools for the job, it's not so bad. I have seen some rain, let me tell you. Easter Sunday. Oh, you know it was pretty up here on Easter Sunday? My brother was making fun of me because he's like, oh, it's beautiful up here. He's showing me pictures. I'm like working 80, I did about 75 miles through the rain on Easter Sunday, and it would not quit. It just would not quit. It was terrible. I camped, like I said, in Iowa through a tornado. That was really rough. I didn't want to send my family a text, but I sent my friend a text saying, send him my location, you know, on iPhone, here's my location. There is a massive storm coming right my way. I mean, black as can be, lightning, and no one knew where I was. I was stealth camping, so that's how I do it. I just jump off the road where nobody knows where I am, set up my tent in the dark, and sleep for a couple hours. And I realized this night was going to be a rough one. And I had my tent up, I wrap in the green thing on the back of my bike as a tarp, that I wrap all my gear in. And I told my friend, I said, I'm going to be texting you in a few hours, and if I don't text you by morning, here's my location, call somebody. You know, this is going to be crazy. And it was pretty crazy, but I survived, everything was okay. Actually, everything was dry, which is completely amazing. I knew that day, I'm like, I am bulletproof, let's do this, you know. I completely rain tested my gear. Okay, what else? What else? What
You
else?
can be hit by charging your phone
Charging your phone.
and your
Yeah.
laptop.
Yeah, electronics. So I use, I have an external battery. I used to have a solar panel, but the solar panel didn't work out so well. Nature Power sponsored me to give me a solar panel. Didn't work out so well. So I have 2 external batteries, and that's what I use whenever I find a friend's place. And since I was in the Army, I have friends all over the place. And they have friends, and my friends and family have references. I mean, I stayed about 40% with friends or references, and about the other 40% were people I found online. Has anybody ever heard of couch surfing? I use couchsurfing.com. It's pretty cool. People open up their homes to allow crazy travelers like me to come through. Now, I know everybody's like, well, that's kind of creepy, but it's not. There are references. About 20 different people wrote about me. He said, oh, Brian's good, don't worry about it, you know, he'll be fine. He won't steal any of your stuff. Which was true most of the time. I mean, sometimes I take something, but it's not that big. No. But, no, so when I stay at these places, at these homes, I have an outlet and I plug it in, and that's how I keep this charged, and also my batteries, external batteries. And I have one big, I have a little one and a big one. The big one, I have like 9 charges on this thing, so I was always okay. There was never a time where I was out of electricity. Any other challenges? What else do you think I saw?
Physical.
Physical. Oh, no, I'm a robot. I'm a robot. I can do this all day. It's no big deal. No, I'm kidding. I am in really good shape. Like when I started, I decided to make the miles from New York City to Boston, my brother's place in Boston, a little on the low side. So I keep it about 50 miles a day to get myself into bicycle shape. And I just got into bicycle shape and everything was good. And one thing I had to be concerned about that you wouldn't think about unless you ride bicycles is saddle sores. Okay, like 3 points of contact. You got your hands, your feet, and your butt. Okay, and that was the one thing I was concerned about. But let me tell you, at this point, buns of steel. Okay, I can handle anything. So yeah, that was not a problem for me. I really had no issues. It was pretty good. But you really just get in shape, and that became normal to me. I would say a perfect day is like 70 miles, something like that, 70 miles. But it all depends on the wind. If I have a headwind, my bike is really wide, and it's like dragging your brakes. It's exhausting. I can do hills all day long. I've done the Appalachians and the Rockies and the high deserts here. I mean, I can do hills. When you're going up a hill, it's like an investment. You're just working, and that's okay, because I know I'll cash it out on the way down. But when you're riding through the Great Plains here, or anywhere there's wind, and the wind's hitting you, it's like you're just wasting all this energy. It's frustrating. It takes the wind out of your sails, unintended. Like, it drives you crazy. I mean, it really is tricky. Wind was the problem, not gravity. Anything else?
Solitude.
Solitude, great one. That's a good one. I actually wrote a blog on that because someone asked me, like, what do you think about on the road all this time? Because it's a lot of alone time. It's a lot of alone time. I wrote about 6% with another person, so that's not very much. But that was just someone I ran into. Let's see, solitude. So I have, this is very important, audible.com. Does anybody listen to books on tape? I certainly do. I do a lot of podcasts too, and it turned out to be a very educational year. But I was alone a lot, but I've always kind of been, as you can tell from my background, a bit of a lone ranger. So I don't mind alone time. I like hanging out with people too, but I can do just fine alone. I'm always good with whatever is. And whatever's here, like right now in front of you guys, this is okay. Sometimes when I'm completely alone, that's okay. It's just, I'm right here in the moment. That's how I operate. Any other?
Trucks hitting you.
Oh, yes, that's number one as far as safety, sir. That's number one. So I take necessary precautions, all that I can. I have a blinking taillight. I also have a vest. You may have seen that yellow bright vest on the back. I also have a mirror that I can see behind me, and that's really the most important part. I can control water, I can control food, and animals to a certain extent, but man, a truck or even a smart car would wipe me out. So I have to be very careful. And that's why the only thing I really cared about was the shoulders. I needed a place to ride. That was the deal. I have a shoulder, I'm happy. If I don't have a shoulder, it's like, okay, I'm anxious and trying to get off this road. I'm checking my mirror all the time. It was a little bit risky there. Anything else? What's that?
Any road rage issues?
No, you'd be surprised. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I had one guy. I was crossing the Mississippi into Baton Rouge, and it's this huge bridge, and 2 lanes, no shoulder, and it's very steep and tall, so boats can go under there. And I'm riding, and I'm hogging up a lane because there's nothing I can do. It's 2 tight lanes, so you can't sneak 2 cars through. And I'm going up this hill as fast as I can, and it levels off, and everybody's going by, not one horn. I was like, this is incredible. Everybody's being really good. And then I got one guy in a truck, put his window down, he was ready to scream every profanity in the book and just yell as he went past. And I'm like, hey, that's not too bad. I'll take it. I'll take it. And I'm thinking in my head, like, trust me, I want to be off this road much more than you want me off this road. Okay? So, yeah, road rage really wasn't. Sometimes a car would come by me really close, and my problem was I didn't know whether to be upset or scared. I don't know if they just don't like cyclists and they wanted to show me like that, they just want to make me uncomfortable, or if they're texting and driving, which I had that happen in Savannah, Georgia. I was riding to a school, and this car, it's slow, luckily it was slow, it was like a 30-mile-an-hour street, and I see this car in my mirror coming closer and closer. I'm like, whoa, I'm getting right on the edge, and as she came by, I sit up high on the bicycle, it's higher than the car, I could look down, she's like texting, and right in front of me, she goes off into the grass and straightens up. I'm like, oh my goodness, that was like, okay, that was not fun. I'm glad I'm paying attention. So, but it wasn't too bad. Road rage was okay. What else? Anything else? Before I move on? Yeah.
Nursing an injury, getting hurt and having to keep going?
Yeah, that's a great point. I had been 100% the whole time except for one day. I was in Tyler, Texas right here. I took a little bit of a break here because my mother's sister lives there. I was catching up on all the administration. And I rode 100 miles the next day because I was trying to make up a little bit of time. And I noticed that the next day, my knee hurt just a little bit, like my patellar tendon right in the front. And I remember thinking, this isn't good. Not because I was just slightly injured. It wasn't bad, but I couldn't rest. I didn't have the time now. I was a couple days behind. I had to get to Orlando, where I spoke at Charles Schwab. So Charles Schwab, they're expecting me at a certain time. And my knee was a little bit sore. I'm like, I cannot relax now. This is a problem. But it turned out okay. I took it easy the next couple days, like deliberately slowed down a little, and I was okay. But other than that, I've had no physical problems. You get me. Bicycle riding is 0 impact, so you can really do it all day, every day. I mean, it's really not a problem. So yeah, that wasn't too bad. There was one day, my longest day was 148 miles out of Yuma, Arizona. Awesome tailwind, 20-mile-an-hour tailwind. I'd sit up and just pedal away. But that's the load I did, like right out here. The furthest unloaded day was on Christmas Day. I don't know if anybody has kept up with me on Facebook, but that was a smash hit day. I wanted to raise $1,000, so I got the idea. That was my goal, and I got the idea. I'm going to pledge. I'm going to ask people to pledge. All the people that I've met so far around the country. And the pledges just started growing and growing. I'm like, I think I'm going to beat $1,000 for sure. I asked a bunch of businesses, of friends and things like that, if they could donate anything to me to allow me to raffle away. And what happened was I got about $2,000 worth of stuff donated to me, thinking, oh man, okay, now I have to at least raise that or I'm going to feel guilty that, this is not right. Well, so many people were pledging. I'm like, this is going to be good. I know I can do it. So I have to maximize this day. Woke up at 11:30 p.m. on Christmas Eve, hit the road on Christmas Day, 24 hours straight. I rode 301 miles. And I said on the website, I said, I'm in really good shape. I could ride 250 miles, maybe more. I had no idea. I'd never done a 24-hour race like that before. And I'm completely by myself. I just jumped on the road and started riding. But what I found was, as soon as the sun came up, there was traffic and traffic lights and things like that. And I'm like, okay, I can't afford to stop. In order to go 300 miles in 24 hours, you have to ride 12.5 miles an hour for 24 hours. And so every time I'd stop at a stoplight, I'm losing that invisible pace man. So I decided to find a parking lot and do big circles just to keep moving, keep moving. So I found a corporate parking lot and I did circles for about 20 hours. And I was exhausted. At hour 18, I even had a flat tire and I had to catch back up. I'm like, oh, this is really tricky. At hour 19, 20, I'm getting really my cognition was slowing down. I literally couldn't do the math anymore to figure out how fast I need to hold in order to make that mark. So I called my brother and I said, Brent, I've gone 280 miles, and I have an hour and a half left, something like that, or 68 minutes left. I mean, I got very specific because I had to give him the stats. I said, how fast do I have to go to hit 300 miles? He's like, geez, Brian, it sounds like a bad math problem in middle school. And I'm like, Brent, I can't think. I said, I'm trying to avoid parked cars and mailboxes. It's pitch black. I've been riding for 23 hours, 22 hours at this point. And he's like, man, you sound like crap. I'm like, I feel like crap. Give me the number. He's like, okay. And he texted me back, and he said like 12.2 or something. I had a whole 12.2. I'm like, I got it. So sure enough, I went 300 miles, and then afterwards I felt bad. I'm like, now I'm going to be like a debt collector. I have to tell everyone who's to email me the pledge amount. Here's how much you owe me, and I'm sure it's more than they thought, because I said 250, maybe more. And my personal goal was 3, and I hit 3 to 1. So I'm sending all these emails, the exact opposite happened. People gave more. We got about $700 more on top because they were so impressed with my performance. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing, the support of everyone. I raised $10,000 on that single day. So it was a smash hit. I was really excited. That was exciting. And you can imagine the security guy, the security guard on this huge corporation building, like, what is this guy doing running circles around the parking lot Christmas Day? He looks determined, you know. It was really fun. But anyway, so I'll cover just a couple more things here. Next slide. Some closing thoughts. Go to just one. So be appreciative of what you have. I can't stress this enough. I believe that the reason why life starts really working for you when you come from a place of gratitude. And if you lack gratitude, you can just remember some of the things that I showed you today. I mean, I can't forget it. I can't live from any other place because of the things that I've seen. And I don't believe you need to go over there and experience it yourself or see combat or anything like that. You can listen to stories and just know, and we all see the news and things like that, we know that the world is a pretty rough place, and we should all definitely know that we're extremely lucky to be here. So if you're more appreciative of the things you have, the more good comes your way. I mean, I can't express this enough. It's really a wonderful thing. The next thing is helping others brings purpose to your life. It really just changes everything. And I don't want you to believe these things and walk out of here and say, yes, I believe Brian. I don't care. I want you to try it. Try it for yourself and see what happens. See how you feel after you help a complete stranger. See what happens. It's really a remarkable thing. This year is a great example for me. I didn't do this on purpose. It just worked out this way. I mean, my goal was to help others. That's the point, raise money for charity. But I was maxed out. That's kind of my way. I could have slowed down a little and spoken at less schools and just relaxed a little, but I can't help it. I just have this drive, and I have to do better and better and better. I'm not making $1 this year. On my donation page, you can donate towards the funds of the ride, like peanut butter and things like that. Oh, by the way, I've eaten 40.5 pounds of peanut butter this year. So that's most of you guys can't see this, but there's actually a morbidly obese man inside here. I just train really well. I eat like an elephant. I'm not kidding. It's crazy. But I tried to cut every corner I could. I had lots of complete strangers help me. So donations go on, it's up to the person. You can donate money towards the cause to help me finish the ride, or you can donate directly to charity, which is what most people did. They just donate directly to charity. But whatever is left over in the ride funds, I'm going to split up and give to charity. So I knew from day one that I was not going to make $1. I would make exactly 0. I keep a very detailed Excel sheet, so I know to the penny what I've spent and what I owe now, which is, luckily I had the trip paid for. But I could have gone in the hole, but it didn't even matter to me. So I'm riding to the max. I'm doing as much as I can. I never stop, ever, this entire year. There's no such thing as a day off. When I would tell people, well, I'm going to be here for 2 days. Oh, that's nice, you get a day off. No, I'm on my computer. I'm sending emails ahead to schools. I'm logistics. I'm trying to organize and schedule. Where am I going to be next? And how I need to thank donors. I need to write postcards. I mean, it never ended. The work never ended. But I had never felt better in my life. I feel great because I know that what I'm doing is much bigger than myself. And that's what it's all about. I know it sounds corny, but living, the best way to live is to give. I mean, I know it sounds really corny, but it's totally true. You got to try it out. So this has been a wonderful year, even though I had worked like crazy. And I just got home at 4 o'clock in the morning yesterday. And the good news is I slept in my own bed for the first time in about a year last night, but I only got 2.5 hours. So I'm looking forward to tonight. Maybe that'll be a little better. The last thing, and this is my favorite. Oh my goodness, this is my favorite. You can do anything you put your mind to. My whole life has been this way. When I was in the Army, I'm actually too short and I don't weigh enough to jump. We call it jump in the gun, which is a 240 Bravo, this huge machine gun. I was put on the gun team. I was an ammo bearer when I first showed up at the Army. That was hilarious. That was like a joke to everyone. But I was able to handle it because like I said, I'm strong for my size and weight, and I loved it. I loved the challenge. Well, I worked my way up to gunner. And when I got to gunner, they said, you can't jump the gun. You have to be 5'9", 170. So 5'9", 170. I'm 5'10". I'm 5'8". No, I'm like 5'7". I'm 5'8". When I stand up real tall, but I'm 5'7". And I weigh like 150 or 155. And they said, you can't jump it. And I said, I absolutely can. And I did. I've always been, I completely believe in myself. I said, give me this thing. And I had the gun, and it's really funny what you do. There's a static line that hooks up to your parachute. And you hand the static line off to the jump master, and you turn, you're supposed to exit the aircraft as hard as you can. Jump away from the plane, because if you jump out, you just fall out of the plane, you hit the side of the plane and roll. And when you roll, it twists your chute, and then you fall faster. And we have a T-10 Delta, which translates to a piece of crap. And you just fall like a sack of potatoes. So it's not like it's fancy, you see people skydiving, oh, this is a nice day. That's not how we fall. We jump out of the plane, hit the ground. And so you want the parachute to be as wide as possible. And they teach you how to undo that. But so the point is to get a good exit. I remember when I had the gun, this thing was heavy. Big rucksack full of ammunition. The gun was supposed to carry half. It's crazy. Then I had my reserve chute, 240 Bravos, 30-pound piece of metal, and my parachute on my back. So the whole thing is extremely heavy. And when I went to turn out the aircraft, I could hardly hold myself up, and I just fell out. But I was so heavy that it pulled me away from the plane. So it all worked out just fine. My parachute opened, I'm like, see, I told you I could do it. But I got better and better as I did. I learned more techniques. Okay, I could prop my left hand against the plane, the side of the plane, because it's like a gutted, C-130. And I learned how to do it and then get better exits. I got better and better. But the point was I knew I could do it. I believed in myself completely. Same thing when I went to Thailand. Everybody said, I'm crazy. You know, some people do teaching overseas, but they sign up with a program. They say, you sign up with a program, and they teach you how to do it. You take the course, you're going to go to this school, here are your plane tickets. I did everything by myself. I just said, I'm going to go to Thailand one day. I'm going to go to Thailand and teach English. And people said, you're crazy. You have you don't know anyone in Thailand, you don't speak the language, not a single word of the language, and you're not even a teacher, you have your marketing degree. What are you doing? I said, trust me, I got this. And I just take one day at a time, just like I was explaining with the bicycle ride. One day at a time, and you're going to accomplish anything. And I did. Sure enough, to this day, I still keep in touch with the principal of the school that I worked at. And he said, come back. This is your home. We want you to come back here. This is great. So it was really an amazing year. And after I came home from Asia and started telling people, I'm going to ride my bicycle to the four corners of the continental United States, you can imagine what everybody said. You are crazy. You cannot do that. I just had a friend earlier tell me, like, big congrats, man. I gotta be honest. He's a close friend of mine. Just big congrats. I can't believe it. To be honest, I didn't think he'd make it. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know? So I thought he knew me better than that. But I completely set my mind to it, and I told people I was going to do it, and everybody said you're crazy. And here I am, just finished the ride that everybody said I couldn't do, or said I was crazy for trying. So you can do anything, and I'm not different from anybody. I just completely believe that I can do it, and we all can be that way. It just takes a little confidence in yourself and knowing you can. So what I suggest is that whatever you put your mind to, ensure that it helps others, and then there is endless motivation. A lot of people ask me about motivation this year. How in the world do you do what you do? And the trick is that I know that what I'm doing is bigger than me, so that endless motivation. I can go all day. I can do another 12. I can do another loop. It just doesn't even matter. As long as what I'm doing is for a greater good. That's what it's all about. So one last slide to share with you guys. Oh, wait, hold on one sec. One last slide. I was in Boston, my first talk, and I had questions. There were questions at the very end. This little boy up front, he said, oh yeah, well, can you fly? And the next slide, I said, well, as a matter of fact, I can. So this is me in Hawaii. I don't know if anybody's, I can't remember if this was Maui
It's Maui.
or, is it Maui?
It's Black Rock and Maui.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Yeah, these kids were there, and they just showed up with me, and they're like, nobody does a backflip off that rock. And I said, hold my camera, I'm gonna try something. So I've kind of always been this way, just a couple screws loose, but you know, things are good. And so that's all I had. There's actually one last slide if you guys want to follow along. Now that I'm finished, oh my goodness, what happened there? This must be a Mac. What do we got? No? Okay, that's weird. Anyway, that's how you can follow along on my social media accounts. A lot of people like take pictures of that. You can jump on board. I don't know if you guys all have Snapchat. This room looks like you guys got Snapchat. Let me say. You know, when I first started out, I only had Facebook. And I asked the kids in high school and middle school, I said, so you guys all have Facebook, right? And they're like, Facebook? My mom has Facebook. I'm like, oh my God. So I had to upgrade. I had to learn quickly. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me and listening to the talk. It's been a pleasure visiting you guys, and keep doing your thing. I appreciate it. Thank you.